The red dust of Mars swirled around Jack Hudson as he collected soil samples near the research outpost. The 32-year-old Navy lieutenant wiped his visor and checked the oxygen level on his suit. 4 hours left. Plenty of time to finish. His work and return to base. Jack loved the quiet of Mars. After 8 months at the outpost, he had grown used to the rust-colored landscape and the weight of solitude. As a xenobiologist, his job was to look for signs of microbial life in the Martian soil. So far, he had found nothing extraordinary. That was about to change. A shadow passed overhead, too large to be a supply ship. Jack looked up and froze. Massive object hovered above him, its surface gleaming like polished metal, with strange blue lights pulsing along its hull. It was not human-made. Nothing on Earth looked like that. "Base, this is Hudson," he said into his comm. "I'm seeing something ... unusual. Some kind of aircraft, or a beam of light shot down from the craft, enveloping Jack in a blue glow." He felt his feet leave the ground, his sample kit falling from his hands. The comm crackled with the panicked voice of the base operator, but Jack could not respond. His body felt light, weightless, as he rose toward the strange craft. Then everything went black. Jack woke up on a soft surface that conformed to his body. The air smelled clean, with a hint of something like cinnamon. He was no longer in his spacesuit, but dressed in a simple gray outfit made of a fabric he had never felt before, something between silk and cotton, but stronger. The room around him was oval-shaped with no visible doors or windows. The walls glowed with a soft white light. A small table next to the bed held a container of clear liquid. "Where am I?" Jack said aloud, not expecting an answer. "You are aboard the Vagian Royal Vessel Solaris," a voice replied from nowhere. Jack jumped to his feet. "Who said that?" "I am Commander Elira of the Vadraxian Exploration Fleet," the voice said. A section of the wall shimmered and disappeared, revealing a doorway. A tall figure stepped into the room. Jack stared in shock. It was clearly female, but not human. Her skin was pale blue with a slight shimmer. She had no hair, but instead, a crest of small ridges ran from her forehead to the back of her neck. Her eyes were large and entirely purple, with no visible pupils. She wore what looked like armor, black with silver designs. "You are the human called Jack Hudson," she said. Her mouth moved differently than a human's would, but her words came out perfectly clear. "How do you know my name?" Jack asked, backing away until he hit the wall. "We have been observing your planet for some time," Commander Alara said. "Your species is of interest to us." Jack's scientific mind raced with questions, but fear and anger pushed to the front. "You had no right to take me. I demand to be returned." "To Mars immediately." Alira tilted her head slightly. "Your demands are irrelevant. You have been selected for a purpose of great importance to the Vadraxian people." "What purpose?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The commander gestured, and the wall behind her changed to show what looked like DNA strands, some glowing red. "The Vadraxian royal bloodline is failing," she explained. "After thousands of years of selective breeding to enhance our psychic abilities, we have introduced a flaw in our genetic code. Each generation becomes weaker. The last 3 royal children died before reaching maturity." Jack studied the display, his scientific curiosity temporarily overriding his fear. "And what does this have to do with me?" "Our scientists discovered that human DNA contains elements that could stabilize our genetic code. Your species is remarkably adaptable. You evolve quickly and survive in conditions that would kill other life forms." Jack frowned. "So you want to study my DNA?" "You could have asked. Earth would have been open to scientific exchange." Elira's expression did not change. "We need more than study. Princess Zorale, heir to the Vadraxian Empire, requires compatible." genetic material to produce a healthy heir. You have been selected as the donor. The implications hit Jack like a punch to the gut. You expect me to ... to breed with your princess. Your consent is not required, Illyra said flatly. The survival of our royal line takes precedence over your personal preferences. Jack felt his face grow hot with anger. Where I come from, we call that rape. I won't cooperate with this. Your cooperation is not necessary. Only your genetic material. Jack lunged for the doorway, but 2 guards appeared, each holding what looked like weapons. They were similar to Illyra, but wearing helmets that hid their faces. Do not attempt to escape, Illyra said. This vessel is over 20 miles long with 6,000 crew members. There is nowhere for you to go. Jack backed away from the guards. My people will look for me. They'll find me. Your research base has been told you were killed in a suit malfunction. A regrettable accident. The news hit Jack hard? No one would. Look for him. No one even knew he was alive. Take time to adjust to your situation, Illyra said. You will be treated well. The princess has insisted on that. I want to speak to her, Jack demanded. This princess who thinks she can just take people. Illyra's expression hardened. Princess Zorale does not speak with specimens. You will be prepared for the procedure tomorrow. She turned to leave, but paused at the doorway. The extraction process can be painless or extremely uncomfortable. That much is your choice. After Illyra left, Jack paced the room for hours looking for any weakness, any way out. The room responded to his needs. When he felt hungry, food appeared on the table. When he needed to use the bathroom, a section of wall transformed into a facility similar to Earth toilets. He tried to sleep, but kept jerking awake at every small sound. His mind raced with thoughts of escape, of home, of the bizarre situation. He found himself in Dot, in the middle of what felt like night. The door shimmered open again. Jack sat up quickly, ready to fight if needed. A different Vadraxian entered. She was smaller than Illyra, wearing flowing robes of deep purple instead of armor. The ridges on her head were more delicate, with tiny jewels embedded in them. Lieutenant Hudson, she said softly, I am Princess Zorale. I believe we need to talk. Jack stood up, anger and fear mixing in his chest. About how you plan to use me against my will? The princess's purple eyes seemed to darken. That is precisely what we need to discuss. Not all Vadraxians agree with the High Council's methods, I among them. For the first time since his abduction, Jack felt a flicker of hope. Jack stared at Princess Zorale, unsure if he could trust her. She was clearly different from Commander Illyra, her movements more fluid, her expression more open. May I sit? She asked, gesturing to the edge of his bed. Jack nodded cautiously. I'm not sure what we have to talk about. Your commander made your plans quite clear. Zorale sat down, keeping a respectful distance. Commander Illyra represents the traditional view of our High Council. I represent a different path. And what path is that? Jack asked. One where we treat other intelligent species as equals, not as resources to be used. She looked directly at him. I did not approve the plan to abduct you. Jack raised an eyebrow. Yet here I am, on your ship, being told I'll be forced to provide genetic material. Yes, she said simply. And I apologize for that. The decision was made by the High Council while I was away studying a new star system. When I returned and learned what had happened, I came to speak with you immediately. Jack studied her face, looking for signs of deception. Her alien features made it difficult, but something in her eyes seemed sincere. If you're really against this, then help me escape, Jack suggested. Zorale shook her head. It is not that simple. We are 3 light years from your solar system. Even if I could get you to an escape pod, you would never survive the journey home. Then take me back, Jack insisted. The High Council would never allow it. Our species faces extinction, Lieutenant Hudson. Fear makes even good people take desperate actions. Jack walked to the other side of the room, needing space to think. Tell me about this genetic problem your people have. Zorelei seemed pleased by his interest. For thousands of years, the Vadraxian royal line has been selectively bred to enhance our psychic abilities. We can communicate across vast distances, move objects with our minds, even see possible futures. That sounds like something from science. Fiction, Jack said. To your people, perhaps? To us, it is how we built our empire across 12 star systems. She raised her hand, and the water in the cup on Jack's table floated up and formed a perfect sphere in the air before dropping back. Jack tried not to look impressed. And the problem? The genetic modifications have created a flaw. Each generation, our children are born weaker. Many die young. Others cannot reproduce. I am the last fertile member of the royal line, and even my genetic structure is compromised. Her voice grew quieter. Without intervention, I will be the last of my bloodline. And you think human DNA can fix this? Zorelei nodded. Your species adapts remarkably well to new environments. You evolve quickly. Our scientists believe human genetic material could stabilize our royal line. Jack considered this. As a xenobiologist, he found the concept fascinating, but as the human being expected to provide that genetic material, he remained resistant. There must be other options, he said. We have tried everything else. Genetic engineering, cloning, even seeking compatible DNA from other species. Nothing has worked. Jack sat back on the bed, keeping his distance from the princess. Why me specifically? There are billions of humans. You are not randomly selected, Zorelei admitted. We have been observing Earth for decades. Your genetic profile is especially compatible with mine. And your background as a xenobiologist means you understand concepts that would take too long to explain to others. So I was targeted, Jack said bitterly. Yes, but not for the purpose Commander Alira described. Zorelei leaned forward. I do not want to force you to breed. I want to establish an alliance between our species, one that could benefit both. Jack looked at her skeptically. An alliance? Your people have remarkable resilience and creativity. My people have technology and knowledge that could help Earth overcome many challenges. Together, we could find a solution to our genetic crisis that respects your autonomy. Why would the High Council agree to that? They might not, Zorelei. Admitted, but as princess, I have certain rights, including the right to choose my own path when it comes to continuing the royal line. Jack considered her words. If she was telling the truth, she could be an ally. If she was lying, he was no. Worse off than before. I need proof that you're serious, he said finally. Zorelei nodded. Fair enough. What would convince you? Better accommodations. Access to information about your ship and your species. And a way to communicate with Earth to let them know I'm alive. The first two I can arrange immediately, Zorelei said. The third is more complicated. Any transmission to Earth would be detected by the High Council. Then find a way around them, Jack challenged. Zorelei smiled, revealing teeth that were slightly pointed. You are direct. I like that about humans. She stood up. I will arrange better quarters for you, and I will have information about our history and biology sent to you. As for contact with Earth, she paused. Give me time to find a secure method. How do I know you'll keep your word? Jack asked. You don't, she said simply. Trust must be earned. I will begin earning yours today. After she left, Jack felt conflicted. Part of him wanted to believe Zorelei was different from the others, that she truly wanted to find a solution that didn't involve forcing him to breed. Another part remained suspicious. wondering if this was just a more subtle approach to get his cooperation. 2 hours later, guards arrived to escort Jack to new quarters. Unlike the sterile room he'd been kept in, these new accommodations were spacious and almost luxurious. The main room had comfortable furniture, a large view screen showing the stars outside, and what appeared to be a food preparation area. Separate sleeping chamber held a large bed. The bathroom facilities were more extensive and familiar. On a table in the main room sat a device similar to a tablet computer. When Jack picked it up, it activated, displaying text in English. "Welcome, Lieutenant Hudson." It read. This device contains information about Vidraxian history, biology, and culture. Princess Zorale has also included personal messages for you. You may use it to make requests or ask questions. Jack spent hours reading about the Vidraxians. They were an ancient species, having achieved space travel thousands of years before humans. Their empire spanned multiple star systems, though they had encountered few other intelligent species in their explorations. The information about their genetic crisis matched what Zorale had told him. The royal bloodline was indeed failing, with each generation growing weaker. The last 3 royal children had died before reaching adulthood. At the end of the historical section was a personal message from Zorale. "Lieutenant Hudson, I hope this information helps you understand our situation better. Tomorrow, I would like to show you more of our ship and introduce you to someone who might help us find a solution that respects both our needs. Rest well." Jack lay in bed that night, his mind racing. He was still a prisoner, but conditions had improved dramatically. Was Zorale sincere about finding an alternative solution? Or was this all an elaborate trick to gain his cooperation? He didn't have answers, but for the first time since his abduction, he felt a glimmer of hope. If there was a way to help the Vidraxians without sacrificing his freedom and dignity, maybe he could find it. With that thought, he finally drifted off to sleep, dreaming of Earth and the stars that separated him from home. Jack woke to a soft chiming sound. The lights in his new quarters brightened slowly, mimicking a sunrise. After showering in the surprisingly Earth-like bathroom, he found fresh clothes waiting and a tray of food on the main room table. The food looked strange purple fruits and something like blue bread, but smelled delicious. Jack had just finished eating when his door chimed and slid open. Princess Zorale entered, accompanied by another Vidraxian. This one was shorter, with lighter blue skin and ridges that seemed to shimmer with a silver tint. "Good morning, Lieutenant Hudson," Zorale said. "I hope you rested well. This is Lirith, our chief geneticist and my personal physician." Lirith bowed slightly. "It is an honor to meet you, Lieutenant. Your species is fascinating from a genetic perspective." Jack nodded. Cautiously, "I'm a bit tired of being seen as a specimen rather than a person." "That is precisely why I wanted you to meet Lirith," Zorale said. "She shares my belief that cooperation is better than coercion. She has been working on alternative solutions to our genetic crisis." Jack looked at the scientist with new interest. "What kind of alternatives?" "I believe we could create a gene therapy using specific sequences from your DNA, Lirith explained. "It would require samples, of course, but nothing invasive or personal." "Just blood samples?" Jack asked. "Blood, skin cells, perhaps hair follicles," Lirith said. "Nothing that would not regenerate naturally." It sounded reasonable enough, but Jack remained cautious. And the High Council? Would they accept this approach? Zorale and Lirith exchanged glances. "We have not yet presented this alternative," Zorale admitted. "The Council is traditional and fearful. They believe direct breeding is the only certain path." "And what do you believe?" Jack asked, looking directly at the princes. "I believe forcing anyone against their will is wrong, regardless of the reason," she said firmly. "And I believe there is always another way, if we are willing to look for it." Jack felt his suspicion easing slightly. If I agreed to provide these samples, how long would it take to develop this therapy? Several days to analyze. Perhaps weeks to create a viable treatment, Lirith said. But first, I would need access to our main laboratory. Currently, I am restricted to my private research facility. Restricted? Why? Jack asked. Because I openly opposed the High Council's plan, Lirith said simply. I was removed from my official position when I suggested we seek voluntary cooperation from humans instead of abduction. Jack looked between the two Vidraxians. So you're both basically rebels within your own society. Zorale smiled slightly. I prefer to think of us as progressives. Now, would you like to see more of the ship? I promised you greater freedom. Jack agreed, and they left his quarters. 2 guards followed at a discreet distance as they walked through corridors that curved gently. The ship was massive, with high ceilings and walls that seemed to glow with their own light. They passed other Vidraxians, who bowed to Zorale but looked at Jack, with expressions ranging from curiosity to obvious distaste. Not everyone is happy to have a human aboard, Jack observed. Many have never met a being from another world, Zorale explained. And there are stories about humans, not all of them flattering. They entered a large, circular room with a transparent dome ceiling that revealed the stars. In the center was what looked like a garden, with plants in every color imaginable. This is our arboretum, Zorale said. We carry plants from every world we visit. It helps us remember that life takes many forms, all valuable. Jack examined. A flower that seemed to glow from within. It's beautiful. I come here to think, Zorale said, and to remember that my duty is not just to my bloodline, but to all life. As they continued their tour, Jack saw engineering rooms with technology far beyond Earth's capabilities, living quarters for different ranks of crew, and finally, a small medical facility. This is my private laboratory, Lirith explained as they entered. Not as extensive as the main medical center, but adequate for basic research. Jack looked around at the equipment, some familiar in purpose, if not design. This is where you'd analyze my samples? Yes, Lirith said. I believe. With proper study, we could isolate the specific human genes that provide your adaptive qualities without requiring. She paused delicately. Without requiring me to breed with the princess, Jack finished bluntly. Exactly, Lirith said, looking relieved. Jack considered his options. Providing some blood and skin samples seemed a small price to pay for potentially helping these aliens who seemed genuinely interested in an ethical solution. I'll provide the samples, he decided. On one condition. Name it, Zorale said. You find a way for me to contact Earth. My people need to know I'm alive and that I'm not being harmed. Zorale hesitated. The High Council monitors all communications. Then we'll need to be creative, said a new voice from the doorway. They turned to see Commander Alira standing there, flanked by 4 armed guards. Creative indeed, Princess, to bring the specimen to an unauthorized facility, Alira said coldly. The High Council is most disappointed in your deception. Zorale stepped forward. I am not deceiving anyone. I am seeking an alternative solution that respects the human's rights. Rights? Alira scoffed. It has no rights here. The Council has made its decision. The procedure will take place tomorrow, with or without the specimen's cooperation. Jack felt his heart racing. I thought you said you had certain rights as princess. She does, Alira acknowledged, but those rights have limits. The Queen Mother has overruled her daughter's objections. The genetic extraction will proceed as planned. Extraction? Jack asked, suddenly afraid. What exactly does that mean? Alira's expression remained cold. It means we will take what we need. The process may be uncomfortable, but you will survive. You can't do this, Lirith protested. I can show that there are better alternatives. Silence, Alira snapped. You have already been stripped of your official position, Lyrith. Do not make your situation worse. Zorale stepped between Alira and Jack. As princess and heir to the throne, I formally object to this course of action. I will take this to the full royal assembly. The assembly has already convened in emergency session and supported the council's decision, Alira said. Your objection is noted and overruled. She gestured to the guards. Take the human to the medical center for preparation. The princess and the former chief geneticist will be escorted to their quarters and confined until the procedure is complete. As the guards moved forward, Jack looked desperately at Zorale. I thought you said you could help me. I'm sorry, Jack, she said, her purple eyes intense. I truly believed I could change their minds. Don't lose hope yet. The guards grabbed Jack's arms. He struggled, but their grip was too strong. As they dragged him away, he heard Zorale call out one last thing. Remember what I showed you in the Arboretum, Jack? Life finds a way. Jack didn't understand what she meant, but he had no time to think about it. The guards were taking him too. The medical center, where they planned to force him to provide genetic material against his will. And this time, it seemed there would be no one to stop them. The medical center was large and cold, with strange equipment Jack had never seen before. The guards led him to a room in the back where a table waited. It looked like an examination bed, but with restraints built into it. Strip and lie down, one guard ordered. Jack crossed his arms. No. The guard reached for a device on his belt, but a Vadraxian doctor stepped forward. There is no need for force. We can sedate him. I don't want to be sedated either, Jack said firmly. The doctor ignored him and prepared an injection. Jack backed away but found himself against a wall with nowhere to go. As the doctor approached with the needle, Jack knocked it away and tried to run. He didn't get far. The guards caught him easily, their strength far greater than his. They held him down while the doctor prepared another injection. Jack felt a sharp sting in his neck, and then a wave of dizziness washed over him. His limbs grew heavy. The room began to spin. He felt himself being lifted onto the table, felt the restraints being fastened around his wrists and ankles, but couldn't fight back. The sedative was powerful, but not enough to knock him out completely. He remained awake, but unable to move or resist. Prepare the extraction equipment, the doctor said to an assistant. The Genetic Council wants both reproductive material and blood samples. Jack tried to speak, to protest, but his mouth wouldn't work properly. He could only watch in horror. As they prepared their equipment, suddenly an alarm blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and a voice spoke in the Vadraxian language over hidden speakers. The doctor looked up, startled. What's happening? One of the guards touched a device on his wrist and listened. His eyes widened. Earth vessels have been detected approaching our position. They've somehow tracked us. Impossible, the doctor said. We're too far from Earth for their ships to reach us. Nevertheless, they are here, the guard replied. All personnel are ordered to battle stations. The doctor hesitated, looking at Jack. What about the procedure? It will have to wait, the guard said. Commander Alira wants all non-essential personnel in secure areas. That includes the human. The doctor nodded reluctantly. Very well. Keep him restrained. We'll resume when the alert is over. They left Jack alone, still tied to the table and partially sedated. He struggled against the restraints, but they held firm. His mind raced with questions. Earth ships? How could they have found him? Earth didn't have ships capable of traveling this far into space. Minutes passed. The alarm continued to sound. Jack could feel the sedative wearing off slowly, his strength returning. He pulled against the restraints with all his might, but they wouldn't budge. The door to the medical room slid open. Jack tensed, expecting the doctor to return. Instead, Lyrith slipped in, looking nervously over her shoulder. "Lieutenant Hudson," she whispered, rushing to the table. "We don't have much time." "Lyrith," Jack said, his voice slurred. "How did you get free?" "The princess," she explained, working to unfasten his restraints. "She used her psychic abilities to confuse the guards. She's creating a diversion now." "What's happening?" "The guards said Earthships were approaching." Lyrith smiled. Slyly, "There are no Earthships." "The princess hacked into the ship's sensors to create false readings. It won't fool them for long, but it's given us a chance to free you." As the last restraint came loose, Jack sat up, still feeling dizzy from the sedative. "What's the plan?" "We need to get to the communication center," Lyrith said. "From there, we can send a message to Earth about your situation. The princess believes if your people know what's happening, they might be willing to help us find a solution that doesn't involve force." "And then what?" Jack asked, standing unsteadily. "One step at a time," Lyrith said. She handed him what looked like a small pistol. "This is a stun weapon. I hope we won't need it." They peered out into the corridor. It was empty, everyone having rushed to battle stations. Moving as quickly and quietly as possible, they made their way through the ship, hiding whenever they heard footsteps approaching. "How much further?" Jack whispered as they paused at an intersection. "2 more levels up," Lyrith replied. "There's a maintenance shaft that will take us directly to the communication center." As they turned the corner, they came face to face with Commander Alira and 2 guards. For a moment, everyone froze in surprise. Then Alira's face hardened. "Seize them!" Jack raised the stun weapon, but before he could fire, a wave of invisible force knocked the guards and Alira backward, slamming them against the wall. Princess Zorale stepped out from an adjacent corridor, her hand extended, face strained with effort. "I can't hold them for long. Go." Jack and Lyrith ran past the immobilized Vidraxians. "What about you?" Jack called back to Zorale. "I'll follow when I can," she replied, her voice tense with concentration. "The communication center is 3 doors down on the right." "Lyrith knows." "The access codes." They continued running. Behind them, they heard Alira shouting orders as Zorale's psychic hold weakened. When they reached the communication center, Lyrith quickly entered a code on the door panel. It slid open, revealing a room filled with screens and control panels. 2 technicians looked up in surprise. "By order of the princess, leave now," Lyrith commanded with an authority Jack hadn't seen from her before. The technicians hesitated, then hurried out when Jack pointed the stun weapon at them. Lyrith rushed to a control panel and began typing rapidly. "I'm setting up a direct channel to Earth. It will take a moment to align the communication array." Jack kept watch at the door, listening for pursuit. How long will it take? "A few minutes to establish connection. Earth is very far away." The ship suddenly shuddered, throwing them both off balance. "What was that?" Jack asked. "The false alarm has been discovered," Lyrith said grimly. "They're locking down sections of the ship. We don't have much time." The door to the communication center suddenly sealed shut with a hiss. Lyrith looked up in alarm. "They've cut off this section." Jack turned back to the communication panel. "Can you still send the message?" "Yes, but—" She was interrupted by a voice over the ship's communication system. "Attention, Princess Zorale, Lyrith, and Lieutenant Hudson," Commander Alira's voice announced. "You are trapped in the communication center. The section has been sealed and will soon be flooded with sedative gas. Surrender now or be rendered unconscious." Jack looked around desperately for air vents or emergency masks. "Is there any way to block the gas?" Lyrith shook her head. "No, but I can complete the transmission before it takes effect." Her fingers flew over the controls. The channel is open. Speak quickly. Jack leaned toward what appeared to be a microphone. This is Lieutenant Jack Hudson of Earth. I'm being held against my will aboard a Vadraxian vessel. They plan to use me for breeding purposes without my consent. The Vadraxians have a genetic crisis, but there are better solutions than forced reproduction. Princess Orile and the scientist Lyrith want to establish peaceful contact with Earth. Please respond. Hissing sound filled the room as gas began pouring from hidden vents. Lyrith slumped forward, the gas affecting her more quickly due to her smaller size. Jack held his breath as long as he could, but eventually had to inhale. The world began to spin once more. As consciousness faded, the last thing Jack saw was one of the communication screens lighting up with a response from Earth. Jack woke up back in his original room, the bare cell where he had first been placed after his abduction. His head pounded and his mouth felt dry from the sedative gas. He sat up slowly, trying to remember what had happened in the communication. Center. Had the message to Earth been received? He couldn't be sure. The door slid open, and Commander Elira entered, her face cold with anger. Your rebellion has failed, human, she said. The princess and the traitor Lyrith have been confined and will face judgment from the Queen Mother herself. Jack stood, fighting off dizziness. What about the message we sent? Did Earth respond? A flicker of something worry, perhaps crossed Elira's face. The transmission was incomplete and garbled. No one will come for you. But Jack had seen the screen light up before he lost consciousness. He wasn't sure Elira was telling the truth. The procedure will take place in 1 hour, Elira continued. This time, there will be no interruptions. After she left, Jack paced the small room, looking for any possible way to escape. There was none. The door was sealed, the walls solid. He was trapped. Just as he was beginning to lose hope, he heard a strange sound from the ceiling, a soft scraping noise. He looked up to see a panel moving. A moment later, it slid aside, and a small object dropped to the floor. Jack picked it up. It was a communication device similar to the tablet he had been given in his better quarters. A message flashed on the screen. Do not lose hope. Help is coming. Ex-Zorole was still fighting for him. Jack felt a surge of determination. He wouldn't give up either. Less than an hour later, guards came for him. This time, he didn't resist. Fighting would only get him sedated again. He needed to stay alert for any opportunity. They took him back to the medical center where the doctor waited. The same table with restraints stood ready. No sedative this time, the doctor told the guards. The Queen Mother wants him fully conscious for the procedure. Jack was strapped down tightly. The doctor began preparing equipment while explaining. In a clinical voice, we will extract reproductive material first, then take blood and tissue samples for further study. Jack pulled against the restraints, but they were too strong. The doctor approached with a device that looked like a needle connected to a collection tube. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. What now? The doctor snapped in frustration. One of the guards checked his communication device. His eyes widened. We're under attack. Earth vessels have appeared and are firing on our shields. Impossible, the doctor said. Earth doesn't have ships capable of reaching us, let alone weapons that could penetrate our shields. The ship shook again, more violently this time. Equipment crashed to the floor. All personnel to battle stations. A voice commanded over the communication system. This is not a drill. The doctor hesitated, looking at Jack. What about the procedure? Commander Elira orders all medical staff to assist with potential casualties, the guard replied. The procedure must wait. The doctor nodded reluctantly. Very well. He turned to Jack. You stay here. We'll finish when this is over. They rushed out, leaving Jack still restrained on the table. He struggled against the bonds, but couldn't break free. The ship continued to shake as what seemed to be weapons fire struck its shields. The door to the medical center slid open again. Jack tensed, expecting the doctor to return. Instead, Princess Zorelei rushed in, followed by Lirith. "Jack!" Zorelei cried. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," he said as they worked to unfasten his restraints. "What's happening? Are those really Earth ships attacking?" Zorelei smiled as she freed his last restraint. "No, Earth doesn't have ships that could reach us yet. But my mother doesn't know that." "I don't understand," Jack said, sitting up and rubbing his wrists. "The Queen Mother received a message," Lirith explained. "Apparently from Earth. It threatened immediate attack if you weren't returned unharmed." "But how?" "I sent it," Zorelei said proudly. "After we were captured, I used my psychic abilities to access the communication system remotely. I made it appear as if Earth had received your message and was responding with threats." "And the attack?" Jack asked. "An illusion," Zorelei said. "Combined with some very real internal explosions I triggered in unoccupied areas of the ship. My mother believes we're under attack by an Earth fleet with technology we've never seen before." Jack was impressed by her ingenuity. "What's the plan now?" "We need to get to my private shuttle," Zorelei said. "It's small but fast and already prepared for launch." "You're coming with me?" Jack asked, surprised. "We both are," Lirith said. "The Queen Mother will execute us for treason when she discovers the truth. This is our only chance." They moved quickly through the corridors, taking advantage of the chaos as crew members rushed to defend against the phantom attack. Occasionally, they had to hide or take alternate routes to avoid guards, but they made steady progress toward the shuttle bay. "We're almost there," Zorelei said as they entered a large hangar filled with smaller vessels. A voice called out behind them, "Stop right there." They turned to see Commander Alira, flanked by several guards, all with weapons drawn. "This charade has gone far enough, daughter," said an imposing Madraxian woman beside Alira. Her skin was darker blue, her ridges larger and decorated with jewels. She wore elaborate robes and carried herself with unmistakable authority. "Mother," Zorelei said, stepping forward. "Queen Mother, please listen. There is a better way." "There is only survival or extinction," the Queen Mother replied coldly. "I will not let our royal line end because of your misplaced compassion for a lesser species." "Humans are not lesser," Zorelei insisted. "They're different, but equally valuable. Their technology may not match ours yet, but their creativity, their adaptability, these are traits we need." "What we need is their genetic material," the Queen Mother said. "Nothing more." "You're wrong," Jack said, stepping forward despite Lirith trying to hold him back. "Your approach is short-sighted. If you force me to breed against my will, Earth will eventually learn what happened. When they develop the technology to reach you, and they will, they'll come seeking revenge, not alliance." The Queen Mother looked at him with disdain. "Your species is violent and primitive. We've observed your wars, your destruction of your own planet. Why should we respect your wishes?" "Because we're learning from our mistakes," Jack said. "Humans are evolving socially as well as technologically. And we understand something you seem to have forgotten: real strength comes from cooperation, not coercion." For a moment, no one spoke. The Queen Mother studied Jack, then looked at her daughter. "You truly believe there is another way?" she asked Zorelei. "I do, Mother. Lirith has already begun developing a gene therapy using samples Jack provided voluntarily. Initial results are promising." The Queen Mother turned to Lirith. "Is this true?" Lirith nodded cautiously. "Yes, Your Majesty. With more time and proper facilities, I believe we can solve our genetic crisis without forced breeding." The Queen Mother was silent for a long moment. The ship had stopped shaking, the false attack apparently over. Very well, she said finally. The human will not be forced. Lirith will continue her research with the main laboratory at her disposal. But, she added sternly, if this alternative fails, we will reconsider all options. Zorelei bowed deeply. Thank you, Mother. The Queen Mother turned to leave, then paused. You created quite a convincing illusion of an Earth attack, daughter. Your psychic abilities have grown stronger than I realized. Perhaps our bloodline is not as weak as we feared. 3 months later, Jack stood in the Arboretum, watching the stars through the transparent dome. Earth was out there somewhere, still unaware of the Vidraxian ship orbiting distant Neptune. Hidden from detection, Zorelei joined him, her expression pleased. Lirith's treatment is working. The genetic samples you provided voluntarily have been successfully integrated into a therapy that is stabilizing our royal genetic code. Jack smiled. I'm glad. Does this mean I can go home soon? Yes, Zorelei said. But first, my mother has authorized me to offer an official alliance between our worlds. We would provide technological assistance, medical advances, cultural exchange. True partnership. Earth will be suspicious at first, Jack warned. That's why you'll be our ambassador, Zorelei said. Your testimony about how we eventually respected your autonomy will help build trust. Jack considered this. It won't be easy, but I believe it's possible. Zorelei touched his hand gently. I also have a personal question. Now that the crisis is resolving through science rather than force, would you consider a personal alliance as well? Not out of obligation, but by choice? Jack looked at her, surprised. Over the past months, he had come to admire her courage, her intelligence, her determination to do what was right despite tradition. I would, he said, taking her hand. By choice. As they looked out at the stars together, Jack thought about the strange journey that had brought him here. What had begun as abduction and captivity had transformed into something unexpected, the beginning of a new era for both their species, based not on force, but on mutual respect and genuine connection. He had been tied down once, but now he was. Free to choose, free to build bridges between worlds, free to forge a future neither humans nor Vidraxians could have imagined alone.